Okay, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mark Bolda. I work here on the Central Coast as a farm advisor in strawberries and caneberries, and it's my privilege to share this training with you on light brown apple moth in raspberries, strawberries, and blueberries. This is part of an annual training to bring people up to speed on light brown apple moth here on the Central Coast. Just so you know, I'm always available for questions and individual consultation. That happened a few times last year. You don't have to go through the whole talk and everything like that. Just give me a call, send me an email. This does continue to be a pest here, so it's important and we need to pay attention to it. So the presentation is broken down into 4 parts. First, I discuss the quarantine. Then we get into biology and identification of light brown apple moth, acronym LBAM, monitoring for LBAM in the field, and then the last, I'll discuss management and control. The initial invasion of light brown apple moth, according to most, took place in 2007. It showed up in blueberries first, then we had it in raspberries in 2009, and then strawberries, beginning with organic strawberries and then moving to some extent into conventional berries in 2010. And the problem continues with the spread of light brown apple moth to areas well south of the Central Coast. So that's to say Santa Maria, Ventura, and then not into Baja California, Mexico, by my understanding. It is indeed a concern of trading partners, Canada and Mexico, and that's why this is such a big deal for us. Just a note here, it doesn't spread indiscriminately across the state. It has a certain climate that it likes. So the I-80 corridor, for example, it's showing up a little bit through Davis and Sacramento, just a small bit. The rest of the Central Valley, no, I think it's too hot. San Diego, it's been an issue down there. I think that does reflect the best conditions for it to thrive. But concern of trading partners, Canada and Mexico, that's really what this is about. We do not want to be shipping this to those countries. Believe me, that is not going to be a good thing. The reaction of the USDA, United States Department of Agriculture, light brown apple moth, was to impose a quarantine of areas detected with light brown apple moth. So if you're within the quarantine, you need to correspond to the regulations of the USDA. And what do those regulations consist of? Monthly or more frequently, they usually announced inspections of harvested produce at the cooler. Could be more frequent if there's a certain urgency. It seems like there's a lot moving around or something like that, then it'll be more frequent. So what happens is it's inspection day at the cooler. You bring in a set amount of boxes of harvested produce, and then the inspectors will look through that. There could be county inspectors together with the USDA inspectors. And what happens is if they find anything, a small green larva, I'll show you shortly what that looks like. If they find a suspect, a hold is put on that field or the block. The USDA has been more discriminate. Now, as far as the holds, initially they would close the whole field, but now it can be by block. It can actually be, a set of rows or something like that. But they do put a hold on that, so that means you cannot ship fruit from that held area out of the quarantine. What happens then, it takes a little while, and this is critical for you to understand. It takes a little while for them to make the identification. It needs to go up to the laboratory in Sacramento. If it's a larva, it can take 3 to 4 days. If it's over the weekend, a little bit longer. If it's a pupa, good luck. That's going to take a while. That's a tough one. So, but what happens is when you get the report back, it's either negative or positive. If it's negative, the hold is removed and you're good to go. If it's positive, now things start to turn. The regulatory wheels start to move. And what happens is an inspection of the field is arranged. The grower is free to enact control procedures before the inspection. This is important. So say you got a positive note from the lab. You've got light brown apple moth in block A of your field. Block A is now put on a hold, and the inspectors then make arrangements to come on Friday to have a look at the field. Between Tuesday and Friday, and I've spoken with the inspectors about all of this. This isn't anything untowards, and it actually makes a lot of sense. We're in this together, right? We don't want to move light brown apple moth around ourselves as growers, nor the USDA. Between Tuesday and Friday, you should get busy and clean that thing up. Because what will happen is they're going to show up on Friday, they're going to search that field. If there's anything in there, they're going to find it. And then you are now held to their program of control, which does not correspond to the best, but they're limited by the regulations. Okay, so you need to take care of that. So let's get into the identification of light brown apple moth and other leaf rollers in the field. Let's have a look. So this is one we've got right here. So let me look at this. It is a leaf roller, right? So we have the individual larva right here. It is a leaf roller. So what's happening is, you can see this raspberry, it's rolling the leaf up. This is the way it protects itself. Spiders don't have the ability to roll leaves. They use webbing, but these do indeed roll leaves to give them protection from predators and the elements. And you can see here we've got a blackberry. Again, the leaf is rolled very tightly. What are you looking for with the rolling? It's not like they're holding the leaf with their legs. You know, they don't roll it up that way. They use webbing. So what I'm going to tell you is you need to look for webbing when you're looking for leaf rollers. All right. So let's have a look. Do you see that? That leaf is rolled kind of rough. It's not like the original pictures, but do you see it right there? See that kind of white fluff? That is webbing. That's what you're going to be looking for when you are inspecting for leaf rollers in your field. All right. Then if we were in person, I would ask the audience, you know, which one of these is light brown apple moth? You can't tell. These are all leaf rollers, right? You can see the upper left-hand picture there. You see that little white tuft there? Again, that's webbing. You look at the middle picture, you see the whitish stuff towards the side there? That's webbing. And then we have something on apple. No webbing, but that's also leaf roll. You can't tell which they are. So basically what you're doing with your light brown apple moth inspections is just inspect for leaf rollers. Don't try to distinguish between light brown apple moth and the others. That is a very bad bet. There's only a few people, even I think in the state of California, that can do morphological evaluation of light brown apple moth. It needs to be analyzed by DNA to distinguish. So don't do it. Leaf rollers, you act. You understand? Leaf rollers, you need to make a decision and spray and control this thing. Okay? So here we have a pupa. Again, if the inspectors find a pupa, that's not good news, especially in association. Do you see it? The whitish there, upper left hand, it's webbing. It's a leaf roller. This is bad news. In the hands of an inspector, it's even worse because they can't make any identification in the field. It's got to go to lab, but it takes a long time for the lab to do an ID on this. Could be a week to a week and a half. It takes a lot longer than the larva. So again, don't have this happen. Don't have this happen. Let's see right here. Okay, we've got another green larva, got leaves chewed. What's missing? That's right. Webbing is missing, and then also, you see any rolls there? I don't see any rolls either. Actually, this is an inchworm, so this is something that you do not need to worry about. Of course, if there's a lot of them are causing damage, then you would do that to control, to manage your field. Here's another one. Again, we don't have any rolls, and it's on fruit, but what do I got? I've got webbing. So it is a leaf roller, and we need to take action. How about this one? We've got a hole punched into the flower. Again, leaf rollers are omnivorous, but what's proving it to me that's a leaf roller? Yeah, you see it. It's on the left, webbing. Here we've got strawberry. We haven't really brought strawberry into the picture. Strawberry leaves are very large, so the leaf rollers can't really handle them and roll them. So generally in strawberry, my experience has been that they pull the leaves together. And if you look through those holes in the center of these leaves, you see the kind of whitish? Webbing, leaf roller, take action. So this is the other part. Again, they're omnivorous. They eat a lot of different things. They do find their way on fruit. Some of the biggest hits that growers have taken in our area is when the inspectors find in the cooler the leaf rollers under calyces. That's the leafy part on top of the fruit. We've got a larva emerging here. Now this would be a real disaster for the grower. You can see kind of the indentation there, indicative of feeding. Here's one that tucked itself into one of the leaves of the calyx. That one's going to be hard to find. But again, you do see the webbing, so you've got your leaf roller. We need to take action on this. And believe me, these can be hard to find, especially in the early stages when they're 1 to 2 millimeters long. They're just a little bit too short. So the challenge for us, so that's the identification. Again, in-person class would be great. We could kind of review it. You could ask questions. Again, I'm available. You know where my office is. I'm here in Watsonville. So the challenge for us as managers is that we need to put into place of light brown apple moth, which keeps those populations down close to zero, right? You're not going to eliminate them. I mean, that's a tall order. I mean, the effort that would take to eliminate them from the field would be so financially high that it wouldn't make sense. But you need to reduce the probability of getting a find to the maximum point that you can within limits, and then prevent field closure and the economic loss that comes from a regulatory action. Okay? So, but you're fortunate. Light brown apple moth is actually not that hard to control. We've got 3 legs of a sound light brown apple moth management program. You've got your sprays. I'm going to discuss all of these too. You've got your sprays. You've got removal of roles in the field, and then you have your pheromone-based mating disruption. So let's go through these. So let's talk first about sprays. There's a lot of sprays that work and a lot of chemistries that are soft, that don't cause a lot of damage to the predator and parasitoid populations in your field, right? So you're not making a big mess of all the other programs that you have for integrated pest management. So strawberries, you've got Intrepid. That's actually a juvenile hormone. It doesn't allow the larvae to mature. Radiant, that is spinetoram. That's a fairly environmentally benign material. Coragen doesn't even have a warning word on the label. It's so soft. Organophosphates, pyrethroids, yes, they do work. They do work, but again, these are not a good fit for any program where you have predators and parasitoids going. Those are broad spectrum chemistries. Raspberries and blackberries, you've got Intrepid, again, Delegate, which is the caneberry version of Radiant, and then Alticor, again, the caneberry version of Coragen. And obviously organophosphates and pyrethroids will work. If you're using them for something else, you will take a lot of light brown apple moth incidentally. I certainly would not use those to control light brown apple moth, seeing that you have these other materials. You've got Entrust, that's the organic formulation of something like Radiant and Delicate. That's spinosad. It's a spinosyn chemistry. And then we've got our Bacillus thuringiensis. A lot of you know them to be BTs. Lots of different labels here. Centauri, agree. Dipel, Javelin, doesn't cost a lot per acre. I would actually mix it in every time. Put it in every time. It doesn't cost a lot. It does control light brown apple moth. Pyganic, what about Pyganic? Again, you know, what some people, this is pyrethrum, so it'll be the natural pyrethroid. Some people, you know, claim that it agitates them, the worm, and so it rolls around, falls out of the roll, becomes more exposed to the chemical. You know, that's a myth. I even talked to the manufacturer that's not true, and it's quite expensive, and so I wouldn't do that. Oils are not that effective against larval lepidopterans. It's not, maybe against the very small ones, but that again would not be my first choice. So let's talk a little bit about, you know, again, there's a lot of data that I have that I bring to this with the recommendations I made, but let me show you this. I pulled this up, I think it was last year. I was kind of going through some stuff and I actually found Ed Scholl, formerly of Driscoll's, and I had done this study and I never really shared it with anybody. So let's go through this. It was a very good study. It was a lot of work too. So we're testing a sale. These are multiple applications. A sale, that's a neonicotinoid chemistry. You've got Entrust, that's an organic formulation of spinosyn, right? It's a spinosyn. Dipel, we began early, right? You can see 4/7 there, 7th of April, and then Dipel where we began late, in the middle of May. And then you have your Delegate where we began early, and then Delegate where we began late, to see if you could wait to pull the trigger on these populations. We did not identify the leaf rollers. This wasn't blackberries. This was early on in the game. We didn't, you know, grow them out. But if it's active against leaf rollers, it's active against light brown apple moth. So wow. So we have this chart here. Days after first application. These are the early applications. These are the ones that we began on the 7th of April. And let me see if I can pull up the arrow. So we've got application 1, 2, 3. And so you can see now, what is that, 7 days after the third application, you can see As SAIL hasn't done much. Neonicotinoid chemistries don't work. I'm not recommending them. And Trust has done a really good job. There's nothing left. Dipel's done a decent job. You can see here we got a B up at the top. It's different than the untreated control. And then Delegate has done a good job as well. And then this now 63. What's that? What's like 30 days after the last application? And we are still doing very good with the Entrust. The Trust highly effective. Dipel effective. And then also the Delegate. So these three materials are very effective against light brown apple moth. If you begin early, how about late? These are now our late applications. It was just 2 applications. This began in the middle of May. And you can see again, after that, a second application, again with the Dipel and then the Delegate, we have indeed reduced those numbers down significantly. So those, again, very, very effective materials. What would be my recommendation? Again, with something that has such a risk of an economic impact, I would start early. But if you happen to start late, these will serve you well. Okay, this is a total number of larvae captured. You can see kind of which are the most effective over the run of the season. Delegate, unsurprisingly, is the best, and Trust is second, and then Dipel. So those are helpful. Late Dipel again has done something, and then late Delegate. So all of these materials applied early is best. You can see here by total numbers, and then late, you're still getting control. You're still getting control. So the effective materials against light brown apple moth. Okay, so that's the insecticides. Let's talk about removal of rolls in the field. Again, this is something that has, if you get a fine, the impact to your farm is so great that it does pay to do this work. So here we had a case. Let me see what I got here for this. Okay, it was like maybe 4 years ago, and I went out with Ed Show to go look at this, and the grower had been shut down. I think it was like 60 acres organic. He was just beside himself. I mean, this is awful. They couldn't get it open, losing a lot of money because, 60 acres, that's a lot of crop to be trying to sell within the quarantine. I told him about the 3 legs of the management program. Do your sprays as organic, so you have your Entrust. You can see that Entrust works. Remove the rolls. The big one was remove the rolls. So what he was doing here was this. You see these bags? All of the leaves with rolls in them, he put in these bags. And so when we went and looked, you see that he also took all the old leaves. This very small picture, so you're not going to see any rolls in here. But again, cleaned it up within 2-3 weeks. USDA returned to do a follow-up inspection. Field was clean. The whole field was opened back up again. He gave me a call. He was just ecstatic. Hey, you know what? It's the 3 legs of the program. It works. It'll do it. It takes some effort. It takes some effort, but you can get out of it. I think the best, of course, is to avoid being shut down to begin with. So let's get into mating disruption. Many of you heard me talk about the concept, but again, mating disruption is the males are attracted to the female via pheromones. So just to kind of conceptualize it in your mind, is it's smell, right? And the stronger the smell, the closer the male knows that he is to the female. So he's following this trail of chemical, and once it gets really rich, the smell or the scent, let's say, he knows the female is close. But what happens with mating disruption is you're saturating the air with the same scent, and therefore they're blinded and can no longer find the female, and therefore the populations will go down. So what this looks like, the application of pheromone-based twist ties, for caneberry growers, it's very easy. You just wrap around a wire, 200, 300 ties per acre. Put some around the edge of the field. Life of each twist tie is between 4 and 6 months, and replace them afterwards. Ask for more twist ties from Pacific Biocontrol. They carry them. I think some of our local vendors have these as well. And again, tying it on the wire, make sure you tie it tight. If you do this, you can have it down there, and it's not going to work down on the ground. This is not necessary. Actually, I wouldn't do this because you're reducing the surface area of the twist tie. And again, the twist tie is very, it's part of the program of control. It's not going to be the only thing. And you need to be applying these before the flights occur. So where I think you're watching this in March, I would put them out now. because usually the first flight is in April or so. What we did in strawberries here is wrap the twist ties around the chopstick. Many growers advance well beyond that. They use pin flags. They roll them out like a clothesline. Makes it easy to do. Just get them. This is a little low. I'd like to have that above the canopy to assist with the dispersion of the pheromone. But again, it works. So here's a combination of the three methods. You've got your three legs of the control. Apply insecticides when you find leaf rolls in the field. Remove and destroy leaf rolls when you find them in the field. And then use the pheromone-based twist ties from the get-go, basically in March, and then hold those through September and October. So that concludes my discussion, the training here on light brown apple moth. Again, I thank you for your attention, and by all means, I'm always available for you.